Alright, here's a video of the underside of your car. Overall, I would say it's actually pretty nice. There's a couple little things that need attention, but you can see the nice paint underneath. There is a small oil leak up here. Hold on. Oh, that's better. But I believe that's just coming from the oil filter. I'm going to tighten that down. The front end feels tight as far as the components. One thing that is kind of a thing is this a pretty good trans leak here, and it looks like a lot of it is actually coming from this rear section. It's kind of hard to pinpoint, but there is some in the front too. So what I might have to do is just clean it all off and then see where it's coming from. When something's been leaking for a while, you can see that's all wet, but that's from air blowing it past. So once everything's covered with oil, it's really hard to pinpoint. So I'm going to clean all this off so that we can see where it's coming from. This transmission mount isn't very good. It actually seems to be hard as a rock here, and then this is turning to mush from the oils. So recommend a trans mount. If you go back, like the exhaust looks nice. Here's one thing you were talking about, the speedometer. I'm not a great cameraman, this is difficult. The speedometer cable is actually way too long. So you come out, and we can see this cable comes backwards behind the muffler, and then curves forward, comes down, and then goes up. So it's too long. Normally, you would just want this to come, it's hard to get a picture of this, just come out of the transmission and just a gentle curve forward and go straight up, not backwards and around, and that it seems like it's like a foot too long or something, so it doesn't, that could be part of your cable noise if that is in fact the noise. I didn't drive it. One of the guys drove it up onto the lift for me. We see like really nice floors. The frame looks really nice. One thing I noticed is this U-joint is bad. This needs to be replaced. The front one is suspect, but I can't get a good grip on it. But the back one for sure. I mean, it's not an emergency bad, but it's bad, and it'll progressively get worse. We do have a little bit of leak on this rear end, and one of my least favorite things is silicone. So the silicone seems to be put together with silicone, and it's leaking. It's not leaking fast, but it's certainly leaking. You can see that it's there. Seems to be a bit of play in the rear end, but if it's not making noise, there's probably not any reason to look into it any further. Normally a little tighter than that, but I've seen them with some extra play, and they'll last another 100,000 miles just like that or whatever. So I don't consider that to be an emergency. Something else I don't really like is all these rear shackle bushings, and the front ones also, but the leaf spring bushings are all old and hard and falling apart. That's not my favorite at all. I mean, it's not critical, but I prefer to have newer ones myself, just because it does affect ride quality, and they will progressively fall apart. But they're obviously old. Check my list. Oh, that seems to be about it. Like there is a little bit engine oil here. It's unfortunately because the era of this engine, they have those rope seals for the crankshaft, and they're not the best. They tend to leak. I can't show you. There's a cover. It's up between the flywheel and the crankshaft, where the crankshaft hits goes into the block. So that's probably seeping some, and that'll probably will continue to seep some for a long time. Although the trans, I think, find more concerning, because it seems to be quite a bit more of the trans fluid all over the place. And of course, the transmission's not easy to check, so there's a better chance of running the trans out of oil and not knowing it than the engine. But anyways, there's what I see. I still think these floors are pretty amazing. The frame, it looks beautiful. There's a lot to like about this car. It's just kind of some nitpicky stuff. These bump stops are old. Some of the rubber's old, but bump stops aren't a big deal either to change, and they're not super critical. But all right, that's what I found. Oh, here's a good view of the speedometer cable. So I had to take a picture of like the of things under the car with the phone, but you can see how it curves backwards. And of course, spinning cables don't really like bends very much. So that could have a lot to do with what you got going on. We had talked about the fuel pump yesterday, and after I thought about it, it didn't make sense to pull the car up on the lift to lubricate it after taking off the fuel pump. So we were able to drive it up here. I'll drive it back down, or the Haggerty guy will. We'll park it, and then I'll pull off the fuel pump, and then we'll go from there. I didn't see a name on it so far, from what I can see. All I can see is made in USA. That's all I can see on the top. That's all I can see on the bottom. I don't see any company name on it whatsoever. But, I'll have it off shortly. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.